It's maybe 15 minutes with the that particular bit of the rabbinic addenda. Anyway, the question of all questions: how reconcilable is this let's say homosexual tendencies in general with an Orthodox lifestyle? It's not an easy question to answer. The easy made in China answer would be simple. It's not, and you can't be gay and be Orthodox. It doesn't require very much sophistication to say, wait a second, this is one mitzvah, let's say two. It's actually an avirah and the inability to procreate the normal route. So, none of my other mitzvot amount to anything. None of my other mitzvot count. Or to quote Rabbi Fund, who you're going to see also has a wonderful story in this second disc, as soon as we see Hashem, how we get it up and running. If we were to exclude anyone who commits an avirah from the Beit Knesset or from counting for a minyan, he said there wouldn't be a synagogue anywhere in the world that manages to find, to put together a quorum and to make minyan happen. Everybody's got their joys and challenges. Nobody who's perfect. In fact, this is a pasuk in Kohelet. Adam en tzadiq v'aretz ya'aseh tov v'lo yachata. There is no man who is righteous, perfectly righteous here on earth, who only does good and never does wrong, never does evil. So, what's so different about this particular avirah that elicits the response that it does? If we were to say, Tov, I'm a member of an Orthodox community, and you think, who's a member of an Orthodox Beit Knesset? People who work in real estate, fashion, finance, law, accounting, medicine, we've heard it all. Okay. Which avirot do we consider to be normative, or normal, or tolerable? And where do we draw the line? Right? To be fair, I don't think homosexuality is really the only mitzvah that sets off alarm bells. I think pedophilia probably
pedophilia is a bigger deal. It's also illegal. Anyway.
So it helps that it's also secularly illegal. Fine.
No, but it's widely accepted. There is no question about anybody in the entire planet, right, except one supposedly prophet of another religion. Whoever going with a 9-year-old girl would be a problem, for example. Everybody knows it is.
Right. Homosexuality is consensual. We're not talking about rape.
No, fair enough. I'm talking about, let's say, even theoretically heterosexual pedophilia is still pretty repulsive, right? It's not the kind of thing
where you can
extend
obviously. So it's both halachically and civilly reprehensible, right?
Yeah.
And so if you were to find out that a member of the Beit Knesset were involved in this kind of activity, right? Thank God, no one to my knowledge, but if you were to find such a thing out, I think we'd be pretty unanimous in condemning such a thing. And if the person were unrepentant or not actively engaged in therapy, I think by the following morning their membership would be considered canceled, and we just wouldn't deal with it anymore. Again, persona non grata.
Go to the cops.
Yeah, of course. No question asked. Why? And it's a case made. I think Steve Goldberg makes this case, but why are we not quite as bothered by, let's say, adultery, for argument's sake, as we are by homosexuality? You hear that this guy is gay, what are you going to do? It is what it is. If you hear that a couple was, one of them or the other was cheating, so is that not a Ten Commandments worthy avirah? Is this not? Should we not be equally nauseated by such a transgression as we are by homosexuality? I mean, if you ask me, I would say, sure, I'm nauseated by both. But I think your average ordinary citizen is a little bit more bothered by homosexuality. I think your average...
Personally, it would be the other way around as far as I'm concerned.
Right, okay, so...
Because...
Maybe the times have changed.
But that just goes to show. What
I'm not saying any of these is good, but if you ask me which one is worse...
Well, what makes it such a bad thing in our mind is the fact that maybe it's the fact that we've all been growing up in a society that's been looking at it that way for so long. Now you look at the younger generation of Jews, or not just Jews, but
everybody here. I think all four of you could pretty much speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you look at someone who's adulterating, and that's very different.
So let's step back a little bit then. How about promiscuity? Are you as bothered by promiscuity as you are by homosexuality, or is it something you say?
What do you mean promiscuity? Having sex before
marriage? Relationship outside of the marriage?
No, not necessarily. Fornication would probably be the better word for that. Promiscuity is just having multiple relationships in succession, like a philanderer, someone who just...
I think if you are married, that would shock me the most.
And if you're single, it's okay. It's like, hey,
It shocked me less.
it shocks you less.
Yeah.
No, because there is nobody suffering from it.
Less shocking. Well,
If you're
talking
single.
about well.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not endorsing.
Is
the
anyone
practice.
necessarily suffering in a homosexual relationship?
No, this is why I'm saying that
Adultery,
well,
yes.
adultery is worse because you have someone suffering.
I have discussions like this with people on a daily basis. Everybody has an allergy to certain things. Everybody has some kind of a red line saying, no, this just doesn't pass. It doesn't fly. I'm not going to sit for it. I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to take it. When I was growing up, if someone were to tell me that he's Orthodox and gay, I would say that's amusing. You know, it's very interesting how you publicly declare yourself as gay and then still expect the rest of the world
But if he tells you,
to view you as, you know, Orthodox and otherwise observant. Maybe, and
But if
I think I can make a fair case for this. Maybe it has to do not so much with the transgression itself. Maybe it has to do with the publicity of it. Okay, and this is a point. By the way, I don't know if you guys followed this, but it really is very germane to the conversation. Did you hear what happened at YU about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
There was a whole uproar, okay, where one of the rabbanim, he was technically, I think, the mashgiach, like the Rav in charge of the Beit Midrash, invited. They did this in conjunction with, I think it was the Furkauf, the Wurzweiler School of Social Work. They got together to discuss the issue of homosexuality in the Orthodox community. You didn't hear about this, and they had 4 YU graduates, actually 1 current student and 3 alumni.
Good.
Who came to speak about their experiences at this seminar. And so they dedicated a room to it that was good for 100 people. It became evident to them there are going to be over 400 people attending this thing. And in the end, there were people all around the block. You couldn't move and you couldn't hear, you couldn't get in. In the middle of the thing, somebody pulled a fire alarm, like just a guy who was objected to this wanted everybody to to clear out. But they reset the alarm because they knew why he did it. So the whole YU community for the next 6 or 7 months was just on fire. How could it be that the flagship institution of modern Orthodoxy in the United States allowed for a gay symposium to take place, you know, on its premises? This Rav never consulted any of the other Rabbanim when he did it, and it's not like he's a young revolutionary guy. He's in his late 60s at the time. So it's not like he was doing this in order to be subversive. And he made the point that there's an issue here that we need to address and discuss. Lo and behold, there are 4 guys who attended YU. 3 of them graduated. 1 of them was, I think, in his last year. I mean, and you have to... So if you do want to look it up, I think Vimeo has 3 out of the 4. I think 1 guy objected to his speech. They recorded it on video, like with cell phones. 3 out of the 4, you can look up their speeches. They're somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes each. I watched it because I saw the whole uproar and I wanted to know what it was about. Pretty powerful stories. One of the guys admitted to having developed feelings for his chavruta, which I think a lot of guys at YU thought about that for a second, and you know that was a tough nut to crack. You don't usually think about those things, but it talks about suicide and suicidal tendencies, you know, and having nowhere to go. They all had very different experiences with their parents when they decided to come out. They had some of them felt like there were no rabbanim they could turn to in order to ask about this or to get competent advice. So if they're YU, at least it's not the rabbi from my community that I have to talk to. I can talk to someone local, and you know he'll keep it in confidence. The purpose of the School of Social Work backing the seminar was basically to say we need to talk about this. We need to find a way because kids are committing suicide, suffering from depression, taking drugs and abusing alcohol in order to medicate themselves basically around these issues, and that's when the whole thing came up. Among the very, very thought-out responses that came up in the aftermath of this whole debate was the issue of public versus private iniquity, where Rav Shechter, I think, spoke about this. I think Rav Twersky wrote about it more at length, and he said, listen, yes, it's true that everyone has their own joys and challenges in life. Yes, it's true that each and every one of us has a different itzur for a different item that's asur. It doesn't even matter what it is. So if I'm attracted to forbidden foods and you're attracted to forbidden men or women or members of the same gender or whatever it is, okay, so we all have our axe to grind. We all have our challenge. What he said refers to was the difference is if I have excessive appetites for food, or if I can't control myself in terms of gambling, I'm never going to stand up in front of my community and say, guess what, everybody? This is who I am. This is how I am. I expect you all to accept me just the way I am, despite my iniquity. I'm going to wear a badge that says, hi, my name is Avidan, and I'm a gambler, or I'm an alcoholic, or I'm a child abuser, or whatever it is, I'm a wife beater. And I don't expect this lifestyle to go public and to meet with approbation. I don't expect approval to come my way from the community. In other words, not that I expect everybody to keep their avirot secret, though it's probably a better idea than making them public, for a variety of reasons. You can find personal, private advice, absolutely, I encourage it. But the point that he was trying to make was, to have 4 guys get up and tell the entire world, because once you told 100 to 400 people, you told the entire world, everybody saw this. I'm gay, this is who I am, this is how I live. I want acceptance of my particular Yetzer Hara. I want acceptance of my particular challenge. And in that way, I think it's different, potentially even better, let's say, quote unquote, than any other form of Yetzer Hara that you'd be embarrassed to talk about in public. So Emmanuel Sorani is not going to get up and say, you know what, I abuse prescription medication, but it's okay. And I want support, and I want respect, and I want tolerance, and I want approval, I don't want anybody judging me, so you can say, fine. Or Rahman Islam, you have an issue. You have to work on it. You have to get, the right people need to know about it in order to properly counsel you out of it. That's okay. To say, this is me, or in the case of this guy, Stephen Goldberg, this is the lifestyle I expect to live, and I'm telling you that I'm doing it. I'm telling you that I have no inhibitions about it. In fact, I'm attacking you for trying to make it seem like I should be inhibited, or I should have some kind of moral obstacle to me living the lifestyle that I want to live. This is predicated on the belief that this is an undesirable behavior and something that we wouldn't want people to engage in openly. For someone to tell me this is a form of Yetzer Hara, already, people are going to start to snap at you. I did like that point made by the point that chased away those 2 unassuming ladies that came at the very end of 2 weeks ago, where he was saying, listen, it's not a function of logic, it's not a function of rationale, it's a ta'wa, it's a lust, it's just a very strong attraction. Don't try to reason it away. Don't try to say, why would you want to do this, why would you want to do that? I'm drawn to this, you're drawn to something else, but there's no more logic in what you're drawn to than what I am, except that you're fortunate enough to be in the norm, and I'm the exception, or I'm the minority. But that was overwhelmingly, the response from the YU Rabbanim was, some were a little bit more sympathetic to the depression, suicide aspect of it, potential pikuach nefesh. We need to reach out to people and tell them it's okay. Not it's okay to dress like a woman and engage in homosexual lifestyle. I don't even know that any competent Orthodox rabbi would recommend any of the other sexual acts that Takai Shlomo Ashkenazi was discussing. It's a yitzhak. Do your best to keep it at bay. Let's watch a couple other discussions about this. I think there's some fascinating and eye-opening things there. And we'll pick up where we left off.